Alright.
Time for one of our favorite horror movies.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake of 03. It's going to be an in-depth discussion, review, scene-by-scene breakdown. It's going to be part 1.
Alright, it's the movie that started the horror remake.
Of like all the horror
the
remake
early
booms
21st century.
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Platinum
Friday the
Dunes
13th, all
owned
the
the
remakes.
2000s with the remakes.
It inspired them all.
With a budget of $9.5 million, this movie made over $100 million.
Amazing.
In October '03. I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I got to see it once it came out in DVD.
Or Blu-ray.
In April '04. Then Platinum Dunes went on to do the Amityville Horror, The Hitcher, Friday the 13th, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, as we know. Alright, let's jump right into the movie. We're going to break it down scene by scene as it...
Start off with
our thoughts on it as it happens.
Start off with the classic new line.
Oh, it just makes you think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You think you're like, what is this? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the dope new line coming
then
with
it
the
goes
ladders.
to Platinum Dunes. It introduces us to them. And then it goes to like Radar Generation, like, and you're like, what the fuck is Radar? What did they pay? What did they throw in? Like, the animals on set.
And then it goes to the old footage. It starts off with the old footage.
Oh yeah, the one from the original. Except for they trade the two being brother and sister, the kid in the wheelchair.
Which, like, the cop on the scene, going through the Hoyt residence.
So it's the voiceover of the original.
Well, the Hughes residence.
And it's just like, it's been on the cold case files since 1973.
For 30 years.
And it's so badass, and it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it just sets the tone for the whole movie.
And they're like, 5 youths. We're dead.
And then they're like, and then it plays Sweet Home Alabama.
And then it kicks
like,
to Sweet Home Alabama, like, ding, 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 and you're like, alright, great.
And after you see the movie like 12 times, you're like, not
annoying.
this freaking song again.
Like, alright, fast forward. And they're all talking, like, oh.
And then it's like the bitch from, like, it introduced us to the cast. Jessica Biel from, like, freaking Seventh Heaven. That's all we, like, knew her from at the time.
And then Pete's friend.
And then it's like freaking Johnny Quest, and then it's like freaking...
The chick from,
Then it's Kemper with like a mesh hat that's hardcore 03, with the trucker mesh hat. It's pretty tight. No, then it's like the chick from Blair Witch Project 2. The one who gets like naked.
She's like, she's like the one who's like walking.
So
in a circle
she's
around
making out with
the
Johnny Quest in like in Kemper's van.
And he's just like, hey, you know that 20 million
and it's just
people
a perfect
get STDs every day.
He's just like, 2/3 are about your age.
And they're all like, dude, we don't care if we're getting AIDS. So they keep making out. Anyways, go on. And then they whips out a J. They're talking to Jessica Biel and Pete are talking.
It's
Morgan, it's emotional.
The kid with the glasses, the freaking token fifth wheel, and
he lights up a J
of a horror movie. Lights up a J out of nowhere
with a classic Zippo
and kisses the pinata.
And then Pete,
full of weed.
And then Pete's like, hey, let me see that, and he hands a J to him. And then Jessica Biel, and then
Kemper's like, you didn't drink the weed, smoke the weed.
He's like,
as he's hitting the
Jessica
J.
Biel, you didn't even drink the weed, smoke the weed.
And she's like, how about you give me a ring?
And he's like,
as she throws out, and he hands.
He's
the
like,
J
I'll get you a ring. And then he's like, in the meanwhile, and he hands her the J.
Oh yeah, they do the gay or emotional, like, hey, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're close scene.
And she chucks it out the window.
Chucks the J out the window, and they do a close-up on it.
And then Mikey in the back with his pencil mustache, she's like, dude, relax. It's not like you've been like 2 pounds.
For this shit in the pinata.
And then Jessica Biel turns down the radio, and
she's like, what is that?
She's like, what'd you say?
How about 2 pounds of pot?
Wow.
And it's like a
tell me we didn't go to Mexico.
Bitch, you know,
and then it's like, and then it's the hardcore, tell me we didn't go to Mexico to buy pot.
And he's like, Kemper's like, I am not a dope smoker.
And he's like, and Pete's like, I'm not a dope smoker, look at me. Come on. And he's like, I'll get you a ring. And your little baby finger? And it's like, so we're talking.
Okay, and then it's like, that's when we meet the freaking girl stranded in the road.
They're driving and then they notice a chick and then they almost get
In the
running
original,
over.
as we know, it's like Leatherface's brother that they pick up and he like cuts himself. But in this one, they change it to a person that was already
they all run outside the car and they're like, "Are you okay?" And they're like,
a victim of Leatherface.
They're like, "Come on, we'll give you a ride. Anywhere you need to go." And you're like, "Wow, total Hollywood lines." Go on. So she gets in the car. And then
they show the Howdy Doody poster in Kemper's van, and it's badass.
It's pretty sad on the roof of the inside of the van. And then
those are iconic
and she's sitting
shots.
there, and then she's like, "What's your name?" And then she's like,
"They're all dead.
They're all dead." And you're like, "Oh."
and then Four Eyes is like, I'm way too
Four Eyes
stoned for this.
Four Eyes is like, "I'm way too blown for this." Well. And then
she's like, "You're all gonna die."
And then everybody's like,
and then
what
she pulls a freaking gun out of her recruiter.
She's like, "You're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way." And then she pulls the gun out, and then does the shoot. And then they stop the car. They stop the car though, and this is
even
one of
though
the
she was
tightest
already
shots.
walking in that direction.
I think this is one of the tightest
sense.
shots in horror movie movies is when it comes through she shoots through the throat and then the camera pulls throughout and then goes through outside the back of the car.
I don't even need to say how
gorgeous.
Badass.
That was amazing how they cut that.
That scene is.
And then so they're like, "All right, well, what do we do?"
Even though it's like a total puppet.
And then they're like, "What do we do?"
And then he's just like, "I guess we call the cops because he's white as hell." And he's just like, and then Four Eyes
is like, "Hey,
on a list of 1 to 10, that goes way the fuck is there."
He's like, "That idea is way up there."
He's like, "Forget the officer. As you inspect the crime scene, forget the pinata filled with marijuana.
Don't mind the pinata filled with marijuana." And then he's like, "I don't know."
And he starts slurring his words.
And then he's like, "Keep your voice down."
And so the white guy, Kemper, like, it's his van, so he grabs the pinata.
So then he goes
and he walks
there,
out into the cornfield and you see some cows and it's dope as hell. And you're like, they got some iconic.
Texas.
And it's like a perfect cloudy day.
And then he throws the 2 pounds, like, he just throws it out.
It was awesome.
Throws it out in the weeds, and then Jessica Biel's like out in the weeds, and it's
like an emotional part.
And it goes, "Doo,"
and you're like, "Do we spare this in the emotional part?"
It's all emotional, and she's like, "Man, why'd she do that?" Oh, all right. Where we go from there? Then
the bitch is like, "I'm not getting back."
I know, they're not getting back in the van.
But
then they end up getting back in the van, and then they go to the freaking. They end up at the store where
hold up, and then what's his name? Johnny Quest was like, "I guess that's what brains look like."
Oh
so
yeah,
like
on the way to the
lasagna.
store, it's like one of my funniest favorite lines in this movie. It's just like, "So I guess that's what brains look like." So
that's like an awesome
lasagna.
Hollywood fucking scene or a horror scene.
You know?
From driving the dead body that just killed herself.
So then they show up at the store, and it's like the old meat inside the
that
freezer,
is so
like display case with all the
symbolic.
flies. And you're like, and you're like, "Man, I wouldn't want to be there. It just probably stink." And then it cuts
it's like
to
perfect set
Jessica
for a
Biel's like, "Hey,"
Texas
they're like, "Can we use the
Massacre
phone?"
movie.
They're like, "Can we use the phone?" And then they're like, "Can we use the bathroom?" And they go out, and it's like an outhouse, and it's like got a lock on it. And then she whips out a pocket
Leatherface she whips out the pocket knife and she's like, "Added 2 years."
She's like, "Big brothers." That's what she says, and it's like so retired. You're like, "Wow, Hollywood."
She opens it and it's just like a shitter that Leatherface has been shitting on the past decade.
It's covered in dirt from his ass.
With flies all around.
Alright, so then they
total old school.
So then they
and then we get introduced to the old lady too.
That character. She's like,
it's like your Aunt Viola's freaking best friend from Texas.
And she's like, "What you
expect her to have orange marmalade in her freaking fridge?"
She's like, "What you do is your own business." And they gotta meet Hoyt
at
the old Crawford Mill. And
no, he's like, "I'm not driving a freaking
dead body." And yeah. Anyways. So then we cut to the old Crawford Mill, and it's like...
He's like, "She's at the old Crawford Mill," and then it shows this is probably my favorite shot of the whole freaking movie, when they're driving past the trail to the Crawford Mill.
It's pretty tight. And it shows the nice skyline.
Awesome shots.
They're showing up to the old Crawford Mill.
Beautiful trees.
And then they're wandering around waiting for the sheriff.
Mill.
They're like, "Where is he?" And they're like, "Do we want to vote on just leaving the body here?" And they're like,
Hold
no
up,
way, no
hold
way,
up.
no, we're right here, we're right here.
No, that's not even. Yeah, they vote to dump the body. Yeah.
But then they're like, no, and then they just start wandering around, looking at things. And then they see the kid.
And then they're like, I just saw something. Hey, the whole
kid
cast
runs by,
just saw
like, hey,
something.
we saw
It's in the script.
So they investigate it. And then he's like, alright. And then it's like totally like, a secret window. And he's like, I know you're in there, shithead. He's like, he's like, come on. He's like, come on.
And then they open a locker and it's like a pet ferret. Like,
it's like a pet ferret
Jack
from
the Wild Kingdom show.
The zoo in California they just brought over.
They're
handler.
like, yeah, we're gonna need.
They're like, all right, put him in the cage.
We're gonna need a ferret that looks like a raccoon.
All right, open it up. Ah!
Yeah,
right,
we're gonna need that for a whole day of shooting.
So then they meet Jedediah.
It's like a 7-year-old with rabies or something.
And
he's like, you're not gonna hurt me, are you?
He's like, you're not gonna hurt me. And he's like, alright. And they're like, hey, you know where the sheriff is, little buddy? And he's like, yeah.
At home, getting drunk.
At home, getting drunk. And you're like, and they're like, alright, they don't know what to make of it.
And then out of nowhere, like, cuts the scene, then he's like poking the dead body. It's hilarious.
Yeah. They go wandering
and
to
like,
the house.
You know, he's definitely part of the Hewitt family, the Leatherface family.
So they go, Jessica Biel and her boyfriend go to wander the house, and then
JB, they walk. Yeah, Jessica
while they're
Biel
waiting, he's poking at the body.
They walk through that iconic
you sick little mutant.
trail with the shadows going through. It's so freaking
that scene's
awesome.
pretty tight when they're walking through, and it's the shadows of the trees, and it's all the smoke.
It's like a perfect
fog, whatever you want to call
the movie.
Alright, so they show up at the house. And it's like the first shot of like the Hughes residence from
and it's
afar.
like Jessica Biel 03 smoking hot in like a white tank top.
You're like, wow, what's up? And then, so they go up to
what's
the door.
His name, Uncle what's his name in the freaking wheelchair. Of course, as we all know.
And he's like, what
to
do you
go
want?
and call the sheriff.
And it's hilarious. He like puts his cane up to like Pete, and he's just like, don't shoot.
Then as they're at the freaking house, Hoyt shows up at the Crawford Mill where the other three are left at.
And he comes out and he's like all quiet, and he like just spits out a wad of tobacco like Pete. And it's like hilarious.
So she like supposedly calls the freaking cops, even though it was like the old lady at the shop or something.
I don't know who he dialed for.
And then the wheelchair guy's like, I want to grab that ass, and he freaking like fakes a fall like in the bathroom.
And then freaking
as this is happening, like Hoyt questions like freaking Four Eyes. Go to part 2. And we'll talk about
Four Eyes where we left off here. Go to